That envy of me thinking I should be where they're at, I should have what they have, and if I did, I would have all these other perks in my life. That's so toxic. It's the most disempowering emotion there is because it's not relatable. As the leader, you get what you tolerate. If you tolerate it, you deserve it. I'm Jeremiah Boucher, a commercial real estate investor with over 20 years experience. This show is designed to help you build your business, become a better real estate investor, and help you see opportunities that will keep you ahead of the competition. This is Finding Your Edge. You're 22 years old and you've been grinding. Did you go to college?
For 7 months.
Okay. Yeah, me too. About that, yeah.
We got that in common.
Yeah. So we spent the last 2 days together and we hammered on spreadsheets. You got to sit in on all the leadership meetings that I had. And then I see you're like a killer. Like you're on your laptop, you're grinding away. You were on a late flight, you came in. You were an athlete, right? Yeah, you could have played D2, D3 soccer. You wanted to hit D1 and then you sacrificed soccer in order to go to school and okay, so, but what I think is super important is what is all this worth if you got shitty health, right? So you have this, you're young enough where you can eliminate a lot of bad habits before they get out of hand.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people, 55 years old, they wake up, they got a massive bank account, but they got high cholesterol. They got high blood sugar. They got no energy. They got no sex drive. They're exhausted all the time. They got no muscle mass, and they look like crap. And it's not that I'm better at all. I mean, I focus on my health. It's a very important value for me, and I don't understand how people can actually operate within a poor health environment because it's so hard to think. It's so hard to perform. It's so hard to lead. Right. And then I got a picture and a snapshot last night when we were grinding and then we took a break and then we're like, all right, we got to go work out right now. And I brought you over to the gym. Then we jumped in the cold plunge, hit the sauna.
So much better.
Yeah, right. And your whole life is different. So I'm just curious from your perspective where you're at right now. Is health a priority for you? And then what are some of the routines that you are doing in order to help you stay at peak performance in all areas?
Oh, such a good question. And honestly, one that I've been going back and forth with myself on. I think there's this quote, the worst lies are the ones you tell yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And so 6 months ago, I was working out 7 days a week, cooking everything at home. And then I started traveling for business. And I think over the last 3 months, I had to get real with myself and say, where have your priorities really been? Let's look at where you're spending time. And a lot of my time has been spent waking up at 5:30, but immediately answering emails rather than, drinking a glass of water with lemon, which is what my old habit was, and going to the gym. And so just now, literally when we went to the gym yesterday, when we did the cold plunge yesterday, when we went in the sauna, I was like, this has to begin again. This has to start again because you're right. You think you can perform better when those things are first. You get caught up in just doing, and there's things that need to be done always. But my performance actually improved after we went to the gym, my clarity, my focus. So at this point, I woke up this morning and I started working out right away. Mm-hmm. I went to go outside. I did some walking. I did some, what are these called? I don't even know what
lat raises.
Yeah, the lateral raises. But yeah, absolutely, it's becoming more and more of a priority because I just look back at the last 6 months and there's a difference in energy. There's a difference in mindset. I think when you're consistent and working out and challenging yourself, that bleeds into other areas of your life. Mm-hmm. And so just reflecting, like this has to be first for other things to be successful.
Yeah, I saw you kicking the ball like you were a soccer player. You can keep that thing going for minutes.
Yeah. It's very fun. It's very fun.
So what qualities as an athlete have you brought into your life today that got you to where you are so young?
I think the knee-jerk reaction there is collaboration. like I wasn't a tennis player, I wasn't a golf player. Like I played soccer, and soccer there's 11 people on the field, and you really can't be successful in that sport without there being some level of communication. I was with my financial advisor a couple weeks ago, telling her how I love New York and I love LA and I love going to these places to meet people, and she was like, you're really a team player. Like I'm not motivated by making a whole bunch of money by myself. I really value my team. I value the people that I'm working with. And I think a lot of that comes from the athleticism, specifically the sport that I played. When it comes to being an athlete in general, it's the tenacity, without a doubt. I mean, people who play sports or play music, you really start to understand how many times it takes, how many reps it takes to get good at a thing. I mean, it's brutal. It is brutal. And being an athlete will teach you that. You have to put in so much work that nobody sees, behind closed doors. And that for sure bleeds into the way I run my business and the way that I find deals, the way that I find investors. You have to be relentless in order to be a good athlete and certainly in order to be a good business owner.
What's the culture qualities of a great team that you've worked with in the past, and then what you're building in the future? But in premier sports teams, like in your experience, what is the fabric of a great team? I
think when it comes, it's so interesting. Being an athlete and running a business has so many interesting correlations, right? They're almost like two different worlds, but the same principles exist. And both on the sports side and on the business side, I think, and honestly, this bleeds into any sort of relationship where there's more than one person. It's communication. There has to be open, honest communication, consistent communication in order for things to work. I think you get into trouble in the sports world and in the business world when people aren't sharing how they're really feeling, when people aren't, collaborating. That's when I've ran into issues. And the best teams that I've been a part of have that culture of communication. Like there's no such thing as over communicating, right? Please share your ideas, share how you're feeling, share how you think this play could have gone better. If someone's hogging the ball, call them out, just the immediate feedback loop and communication is where I've seen a lot of success.
Yeah. And in terms of different personalities on the team, it takes a great leader and a great coach to be able to fill the positions. So everybody has that vibe where everybody's, because you have certain people that are talented, but yet they have a big ego. Or they interrupt, or they're hard-headed and stubborn, and they don't want to acknowledge that they're wrong, right? But sometimes they're the best financial guys that you got in the room because they're so accurate. At the same time, you have operations people that are a little more passive, nurturing, they're helpful, but yet they suppress and they hold back and they want to be liked. And they don't lean into conflict. So I know you're young, but you've really achieved. I admire what you've achieved. So how are you putting that team together so that there is that flow? And how do you help identify these areas that are the communication's getting blocked? There's a feeling in there where it's just not flowing. Have you cracked the code?
This is an ever evolving journey for me. Over the last 2 years, building this business, raising a fund, dealing with over 100 investors, I've encountered a lot of personalities. And I think, I've just recently learned how to deal with them myself. And I'm still learning how to help them deal with each other. Like the leader in me, okay, I know that I need to speak to this person this way and this person that way. And I can navigate these conversations. I think I've gotten really good at navigating the one-to-one or the one-to-many. I'm still working on how to put this person in the room with this person and make sure that they have smooth communication. And I think that's really hard because you're no longer in control.
Right.
When it's me, when I'm involved in the conversation, I've learned how to navigate. I've learned how to ask the right questions, how to lead. But when you're putting two people together, it's almost like the best I can do is set an intention and set a stage. And you have to just watch how things play out and provide feedback after. It's an area that I'm still working on for sure.
Yeah, I think as a leader, entrepreneur, investor, observing outside yourself where you can objectively look at the situation as best as possible. And then you want to find where are the little nuances of where people are getting uncomfortable, where are they thriving, where are they feeding on the things that are exciting them, and then where are they getting resistance?
Yeah.
And then for me, it's seeing those things, and then looking, what is the person's actions? What are they really doing? The character is in the actions. Everyone can talk smooth and everyone has the right, they're on a good day and it feels good. Everyone's excited. But then if I look at how someone acts over a long period of time, it speaks more to their character than any words will speak. And that's something that I've noticed is when I can dive into someone's character and get a feel of who they are, and especially in pressure moments, those are the best. Because when there's high pressure and tension and there's a sense of loss that something can get taken away, how do they show up in that situation? And then is that response, am I able to work with that response to keep them within this team without burning it all down or without putting a cancer in this entire culture that I'm trying to build? And that's where it's hard at times, because you want that person so bad. If they're talented.
Oh, you're speaking, like I'm getting goosebumps as you're speaking, because I've dealt with this too. And it's like, it's such a hard trade-off and it's never worth it. Like if there's a cancer, the skill set, I mean, I'd love to hear your perspective on this. In my experience, the skill set is not worth the negotiation on the character side.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
It's so hard though.
It's so hard, especially
hard.
as a small business or as a small investor, and you're depending on that person for that aspect of getting what you really want to achieve.
Yeah.
To pull that away, it feels like it's such a huge step back. But yet, the thing I learned over this is as the leader, you get what you tolerate. If you tolerate it, you deserve it. And that's a tough pill to swallow. And in relationships too. If you tolerate it and you accept it, you deserve it. But yet, it's easy to show up as a victim in a very stealth mode. Why does this always happen to me? Why do people screw me over all the time?
Right.
Why can't I trust people? And there was all those little signs along the way that told you this person's character is not one of integrity, but yet you didn't acknowledge it. You didn't want to actually address it. You didn't want to have the conflict with it. And now it's easy for me to sit back and say, oh, well, why does this always happen to me?
Yeah.
And we create our own tribe, we create our own community, and then we have to sit in it, and we get to actually experience it. So I think there's a lot of places we can go with this, but building a core, investing is a team sport, business is a team sport, without a doubt, right? No one can do it on their own.
For sure.
And for new investors, for someone young like yourself, there's a lot of places we can go. But let's just say, for me, having an accountant, a critical accountant that could help me strategize and figure out how am I maximizing this capital that I'm working my ass off for, like in terms of how can I help myself grow and build something that I get financial independence, resilience, and that person can make or break a big part of your career when you're young. But if you don't know the things to ask, if you don't do your homework, if you're not aligned with that person, and that it seems like that position easily gets a checkbox. Oh, they're a CPA. My friend used them.
Oh, so you're so right.
Right? And then you sacrifice so much growth because you didn't really do the work or you didn't align with somebody that's going to help you grow. The next person is on the legal side. So it's just partnerships, operating agreements, business agreements that you're entering into when investing or when you're bringing on a partner, is having that attorney that you can have a candid conversation where they don't talk over you. It's not about billable hours and get you off the phone, where you have the insight. And that's why I hope people that are watching or people that are observing, like they follow what we do, because it's not about getting people to do what we want them to do. It's about creating knowledge around this, to create the ability to have the information so that you can make an educated decision to do the thing that's going to benefit you the most. And it's too late when you're in that conversation with the attorney and you're trying to get an education from him at $500 or $600 an hour, and they're not going to sit there and teach you all of the things that need to be taught. But what I'm getting at though is, regardless, underneath, what's the character of this person that I'm working with? Can I communicate openly, ask these questions? Are they going to walk through it with me? And do I put my pride aside because I'm professional in this area of my life? I'm an outstanding doctor. I'm an amazing business owner. And yet I don't understand this, but am I going to act like I understand it because I don't want to look stupid because my pride is too important for me versus slowing it down and truly understanding what I'm getting myself involved in. And that teammate to me was a very, very important. And then the third teammate that I look at is, and this is a basic person, and people might not think that it's that valuable a position, but just a bookkeeper, like a very, very detailed bookkeeper where if you're not keeping track of the score, you don't really know where you're at on the field. You don't know if you're winning or losing. And it's so easy to overlook this. It's not popular. It's not sexy. It's a boring job, debits and credits and reconciliations in these entities and on your holding company or however you hold your wealth. But people, it just baffles me. And it's a discipline. I don't even like to do it myself. But looking at my cash balances on the balance sheet, like what are the resources that I have? How can I anticipate if things go wrong or what I want to do with my life and my personal goals? But it's so easy to get sucked into, oh my God, I want to get married. Oh my God, I love this person. I want to buy a new house. Oh my God, I need this vacation so bad. I deserve it. I worked my butt off.
Yep.
And yet, maybe it's not the right time, or maybe it is. But the fact that you don't even know
is the problem.
Yeah, especially for young people, right?
Yeah.
And then understanding on some simple level that income has to outpace expenses.
Yes.
So right, there's no special tax strategy around that. You have to make more than you spend.
Yes.
And a lot of people get caught up in I can spend all this money. I'm gonna make it up in the future. I know I can outpace this, and I've been there. I know how that is. But the problem is if you're not forecasting the future and you don't have that buffer, then it creates desperation. It creates the scarcity, and scarcity is attachment. And that attached, desperate feeling is the most repelling feeling that anyone can feel because desperate people do desperate things, and desperate things create character flaws because it exposes them. When someone's hungry and they want to eat, they're going to steal. And so, but the fact that you weren't proactive, and again, that you're blaming everyone else for your problem, and now I'm going to do this because I need to do it because I got to survive, doesn't discount the fact that you made all those choices to get to that point. And I see this, it's so reactive in the way that people look at life thinking that they have it figured out, but they're only looking 2 steps ahead instead of 5 or 10.
Yep.
So I think people that want to play the investing game, rather than just putting your money in Fidelity or Wells Fargo brokerage account, they take their half point to manage your assets, they put it in the market, and then you just take the ride at the casino, right? And that's good. It's been doing good now in 2025. It's up whatever it is to 11, 15%. But the problem is just know what you're getting into, that you're another person in the herd. And you are subject to the whims of whatever the economy does.
Yep.
And no one cares about your power, position, or status when everyone's broke. All they care about is how much money do I got in the bank. And so for me, it's about this whole game is about building resilience, building the right team around you in your personal life and your professional life. And then in turn, that's where real opportunities show up. So you at 22 have a beautiful opportunity where if you don't make dumb mistakes because you're chasing what other people have, to get something that you think you want, a lifestyle that's going to make you happy, which I'm the first person growing up in Las Vegas right behind us that I thought that's what it was all about, is pleasure, experiences. And that's great. But it was really about money is going to do that, not the relationships or the character that I have as a man or as a person that's going to give me that happiness. So then I was just in this constant cycle of I'm just chasing. I'm just like running to get the next thing, to grow, to validate this idea that I need to have this thing to be something important. And that was the big trap, is that when if I could have slowed down, and what I see you do, which I think women are better at doing, women are better at actually taking a breath, saying, I don't need to be like that guy. I don't need to be at that level right now. I need to take care of what I have and my family, or my little self and my business here, my creation here, nurture it, that they tend to make better decisions over time. And then I see if that compounds year after year after year. And then I lived this, when everybody was making so much money in this city and I was sacrificing and 10, 11, 12, and I was just starting to ramp up my career, and I saw these other guys making tons of money. I was like, am I doing something wrong? I'm like in the middle of nowhere trying to buy a mobile home park for some old guy, and I'm scratching together everything I got, and I'm not partying. I'm not doing anything. I already lost everything once. I'm not doing it again. Like, should I be doing what that guy's doing? And that was a challenging time for me, but for me to stay convicted in what I was doing and then eking out the wins, eking out the one deal at a time, learning the lesson, one investor at a time, making mistakes, then correcting the course. That allowed me the second half of my career to build while I saw those guys rise and then I saw them fall. And this city has that happen every day. So it's a beautiful thing where I can see someone that sticks with their plan, slow and steady, get rich slow, forget what everyone else is doing. And then you build this resilience where if there is a downfall, is a downturn, he who has the gold makes the rules at that point.
Yep.
So it's like, that's a beautiful time where everyone goes, man, Alexis was a genius. And it's like, no, I was put in the position 10 years in the making. I could see I could make a move. I knew the opportunity was coming. And then I was disciplined enough to have the resources at that time when everyone didn't.
Yeah.
And that's the position I want to put myself into in this next go around. And I benefited from that in certain cycles.
Yeah, you have one of the things I admire the most about you is your discipline. Like you said, I felt exactly the way that you described. I'm like, am I doing the right thing? I mean, these folks over here are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in a very fast, quick format. Is this and I'm scraping together, deals are canceling, things are not going right. Am I doing the right thing? And at the end of the day, you are so right. The compound effect of just staying focused, just continuing to invest and follow the plan. One of my favorite, inspirations, Layla Hormozi has this quote. She says, "Fuck your mood, follow the plan."
Yeah.
And it's so true. If you
that.
Just continue to execute day after day, stay focused, obviously, you can look around and see what's going on. You have to be educated about the marketplace, but don't get that shiny object syndrome of, switching your strategy every 2 or 3 years, because it's hard to get anywhere doing that.
It is. And I think the misconception is you have to be passionate about what you're doing.
Such a big misconception.
Right? And there's moments of passion, right? There's moments of lust in life.
Yes.
And
just like a relationship.
Yeah.
You're going to feel the highest of highs, you're going to feel low, and you're going to probably feel like pretty average, right?
Right.
But don't chase the highs.
Yeah.
Don't chase the highs.
And I'm a high chaser. I am. I have the driven entrepreneurial addictive gene.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn with the consequences. And it's and the thing I saw is that it's hard to manage your energy when you get too high, and because the lows are super low. But you know what? I don't make myself wrong for it. And we have a colleague that we both know that chases a lot of highs, but then there's a lot of collateral damage on the back end of it.
Yep.
And it's and I think that as a person or as a man, you have to learn how to accept who you are and then the consequences that actually are affecting everyone around you through that behavior. And then that's again where discipline comes in, where it's do I know, yes, I can get triggered this way, but do I really want to show up this way every day and then pick up the pieces? Because how many times do I have to see it before I say enough is enough?
Yeah. How did you develop this discipline gene? How did you touch a hot stove? Was this something you're born with? Did you learn from your family? How did you develop that discipline?
Well, I think there's two sides to that. I don't know. Naturally, I've always been a pretty disciplined or dedicated, driven kid. Mm-hmm. That was just in me. And I don't know if that's just fully in our nature. I read a book called Driven by Doug Brackman, and he says 12% of the population, 10 to 12, have this gene mutation where you're a hunter and that's it. You are anxious out of the womb and you are hungry to go just do more. And I think there's a lot of merit to that, or it's just my ego talking and it makes me feel important. I don't know, but I think that
good awareness.
how he expresses it is something like, man, that has been my whole life, and it's a bitch because It's that inner voice is such a critic because as a discipline-driven person, you're never good enough, right? And you're always self-conscious. There's a level of insecurity in every high performer. Alex Hormozi talks about that all the time. It's just getting that under control and not letting that voice beat the shit out of you to the point where you just destroy your confidence.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one there. But I think that for me, it probably a sense of control. There was a little bit of chaos in the house, and it was just like, okay, like if I do these things, I can control how I can control my own situation here. But then there's a whole nother thing we can go off of where it's like in the pursuit of freedom, I create a prison. And that's where what I thought I was pursuing financial freedom, right? And financial freedom is doing what you want when you want with who you want. And I realized that's not freedom. I thought that was it. That was the ticket, right? Make more money, go do whatever I want. That gets out of hand. What real freedom is, what I realized, and it took me into my 40s, I want the freedom from anxiety. I want the freedom from feeling anxious. I want the freedom from being impulsive and getting pulled in every direction, right? I want the freedom to choose the relationships that I want that are healthy for me. And yeah, financial freedom's great. You can create a lot of options in your life, right? The more money you make, the more it exposes who you really are. So that is just so telling for me that I finally understand what Jocko talks about with discipline as freedom. Because the fact that for me to instill discipline and drive in my life gives me the freedom to show up how I really want to show up, where I'm not a slave to the deal, or I'm not a slave to the person, or I'm not a slave to the fear of running away from anxiety. So building in these disciplines in my life allow me to truly be free in the way I want to be, where I know I can count on myself. I know I want to be around these people. I know I want to do this thing in my life. I'm in integrity. I'm not doing it because I think I want what someone else has, or I want someone to like me to validate who I am. And I think that's really important for people to, when you instill these disciplines and you hear it. If you got my feed on social media, you hear a million different ways that they say these. But I think it's when you keep letting yourself down every single day, and then you start to think to yourself, I don't really matter. Because if someone, like how good are you going to treat someone that you ask them to do something and you count on them and then they keep showing up and they fuck you. They don't do what they say they're going to do. You don't even want a relationship with that person anymore. You shortchange yourself. Yep. So people shortchange themselves every day. And I've been on the flip side where it's like, it's got to be perfect or I'm a failure. No, you have to be kind too. This is what I can really achieve. I'm not a professional athlete. Never could be one. But at the same time, I can get up and walk every day. I can get up and do my exercise. I can get up and eat healthy. No one's putting a gun to my head to actually like live a healthy lifestyle. Like I'm taking care of myself. I can slow down for a minute and sit in the discomfort of being alone. I can handle the conflicts where I counted on someone and they disappointed me, right? And I can lose in business where I wanted something so bad and it got pulled out from under me in the last minute. And instead of the overreaction of me getting emotional around that, the discipline helps me pull it back together. You know, just like Kobe says, it's like if I win the championship, I get up tomorrow and do it. If I lose the championship, I get up tomorrow and I do it. So for me, it like makes life a lot more simple. It gives me a foundation that I can come back to. And I love that. That to me, that gives me so much power, doesn't it? Like when you can just lean on yourself every day, and then I can ring the bell every day. I won this day because I showed up and I did the work. And when I was starting out and I had a fucking cell phone, a fucking laptop, sleeping on a couch, and like a little office that I paid $300 down the road for here. And I showed up every day and I made the calls and I took that list of 500 people that day and I whittled it down to these 50 people that I know that are potential candidates that I can buy their mobile home park at some point with my partners. That's a win. No one said yes, but I got down a little bit more. I took more blue balls out of the big like cylinder or canister, and I have more red balls left in there because I know the next day I'm going to now compound on my efforts. And I think that's the thing we were talking about is like sticking with the same thing again and again and again creates so much opportunity because now there's so many more red balls in the fishbowl that you can pull out of there. But no one looks at it that way. It's like there's no ROI. Like we're doing this content. Hopefully someone likes it and resonates with it. But we're going to do a million other pieces of content.
You just have to keep going.
That's right, right?
You just have to keep going. When I think about discipline, I always tend to think about choosing your hard. I think being disciplined is hard, and also not being disciplined has its hard consequences.
Yes.
So people ask me all the time, like, how are you doing this? How are you keeping going? How are you staying sane? Or how are you doing this or that? And the answer that I have is very similar to you. It's uninspiring, but like, what if you don't? What is the alternative? Like, is that really the life that you want? Think about the life that you want. Which avenue guarantees that you don't get it? The non-disciplinary avenue. So I think the answer is pretty clear here. Both are hard. Both are hard. And so just being real with yourself, being real with that reality, that's what's kept me like kind of going and just like, look, if that's what you want, you have to pay the price for it. And if that's what you want and you're not willing to pay the price for it, stop wanting that. Because that's what it costs.
Yes. Yeah. You don't have a problem if you don't acknowledge it's a problem anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you got to be honest if you got the problem. Yeah. I think the thing that resonates with me this year and me being older and wiser is simplifying things. It's such a critical skill as you grow in business and in life and investing and relationships. I think it's such a simple thing to say, but simplifying things. And like a tangible example for you and in business and in real estate tied to our audience here is I thought I could do so much more than I actually could. Time and time and time again. And I think it's easy to overestimate how much you think you can do, and at least in the short term. And I think businesses that are successful, from my perspective, they're very, very good at very few things, right? Like Southwest Airlines is very good at getting people from here to there quickly and at a cheap price. And they're very dependable and they get rewarded. And I think that in real estate, it's been such a challenge for me because you were asking me earlier why I got into commercial, and it's just because of all the creativity and all the inefficiencies and all the geographies that you can go into and all the different categories, and it's fun. There's so many different angles that you can approach commercial real estate over residential, and that's exciting, and that's why it drove me to the business. Yet it's a curse too, and we're in different real estate investment groups, and you see people that think they can do so much more than they can actually do, and it's something where it's such a big mistake. And I know it takes experience to learn the lesson, and some people don't even learn it after decades in the business. But a tangible example for you is like, I'll bring up mistakes. Developing a massive industrial building, buying a retail center, owning apartments, and having mobile home parks is just out of control.
It's just a lot.
Out of control, yeah. Because you amplify one problem on each of these assets, which there's always some problem. Anyone that tells you there's not is not in the business. There's a zoning issue. There's a permitting issue. There's a construction issue. There's a legal issue. There's a financial issue. There's a debt issue. There's an issue. That issue needs a team to tie it back together here to handle that issue. Except you can only handle so much yourself. So that team is tested when the business is being operated. Now, the more I continue to add on diversity and all these different unique projects, the more problems that are going to occur. It's just the scaling model. So as these problems occur, my team now is having to handle, myself and my team, more and more of these problems that there's not a lot of similarities. There's not a lot of patterns. So now I not only have my team dealing with this problem here, now they're having to understand how to deal with this problem from a totally different perspective. And then another one is added on. And then now the leak in the boat gets bigger and bigger and bigger because now there's more confusion. There's more time taken to figure it out. There's more conflict because people are disagreeing because we're not on the same page. There's more external players being pulled in that we don't know. We haven't met yet. We haven't built up a network of people to help us in this area. So it's just something that I think that if I could go back and stick with just mobile home parks, which I did, and I was finally learned the lesson, but I dip my toe in a bunch of different things, that it really set me back, because the real cost was the opportunity cost. It really was. I mean, this one's a painful one, and I haven't really let it sink in, but now I am as I talk to you. I mean, me doing all of these other asset classes and businesses taught me so much, and I'm so grateful that I have the perspective, because I can understand what other people are doing throughout the entire industry. But it also, God, if I just would have stuck with that thing, and I would have just built the team on that thing, and I would have been disciplined to stay in that one sector. Oh, that would have, the cost was very tens of millions, if not $100 million. Like,
expensive.
Really, that's real. So I think it's useful to, when I think of my life, not just in real estate, to the theme of like simplifying my life. And when I was talking to you earlier in the car about these ideas around wanting to try the next thing, where you want to get into an equity fund, but you already have a successful debt fund, and you change partners, but you're growing it, but you have a very high level of competency in your area of expertise, and that's debt. And then you got exposed to a lot of different people doing a lot of different investment options in the equity space and real estate, and then it's very enticing to want to build an equity fund. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I need to take my own advice.
Exactly. So going in and taking that step away, it's just understanding the opportunity cost to make that shift.
Yeah.
And then consciously moving into the next vehicle. But I think simplification is for me, I'm speaking to myself, it's quieting the mind in a way where I resolve that I am fine with what I have. And this is not popular. Like the hustle culture, the social media, more, better, harder, stronger, faster. It's great. And I want it just as bad as anyone else. But you know what? I'm fine right where I'm at. I'm fine with my company. I'm fine with my health. I'm fine with my relationships I have. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to grow. I'm just saying that, like, I know what I love with what I do. And the more clear I am about this is what I really want to build in what I already have, simplifies everything for me. I believe that there's potential for the relationships, but it's not me grasping for something I don't have. I've been so anxious my whole life because I believed I needed to get something more to be something better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like knowing that maybe you're not as like fulfilled and satisfied in debt right now, but you know what? You're pretty fine with what you have. You're pretty damn good at it from what I see. So it's just acknowledging that first, that I'm pretty proud of this and I like what I'm doing here. And there's nothing wrong with me going and trying to do something else, but don't do it because I think that I hate this thing that I have or it's not good enough. Because it's pretty freaking good. It's pretty like I could be a lot farther, and there's guys in my field that I compete with that are way farther along than me, but it's just that envy of me thinking I should be where they're at. I should have what they have. And if I did, I would have all these other perks in my life. That's just so toxic. It's the most disempowering emotion there is because it's not relatable. It's easy to relate in my mind to think that, yeah, I could have made all the moves to be where he's at. But you know what? Like, I like where I'm at too. And I get the opportunity to grow what I have, and I can make my own choices. And you know what? Actually being where he's at, it's not gonna actually solve the problem. So I think it's just like being at peace with what you have and taking pride in farming and cultivating and nurturing and caring for the thing that you have.
Yes.
Sometimes is a lot more important than actually kicking it to the side, because it's safe, it's stable, it's that relationship you can count on, but you kind of take it for granted, and then you don't feed it. And then it comes back and you look back and you're like, that was a stupid move, man. I had something really good there and I took advantage. So I just went off on this rant because I really think it's important for me to simplify, like, you know, it's easy to get caught up in all of the goal setting and achieving more, but like in a relationship, what do I really want? Like, I want someone I can trust. Of course I want chemistry, but I want someone that loves me and invests in me as much as I invest in them. Like, I want someone I feel safe with. I want someone that's my teammate, you know, that they really support me. And I'm talking like character, really support me, not where I kind of doubt what they think they're trying to get an angle on me, or they're just afraid and they're clinging to me because I have resources. Like, I want that person that's going to be my ride or die, you know, that person that I can count on. And that once I get that and we share some aligned values and goals, like, that's pretty simple. Like, but the second that I get out there that they need to be ambitious and the charismatic and this super beautiful, and maybe it's not that one, it's this one and that one. And then it's just my head's all over the place and I'm just chasing, right? And it goes for my business too. Like, I just want a mobile home park. It's occupied. It's got a good foundation of tenants. It's got a good solid infrastructure. I make a few changes that sound simple, like raising rents and cleaning this thing up and creating a great community and culture. Like, that's hard to do. But that's actually relatively simple, but it's actually hard to execute on. But that's it. That's the box. It's very simple. All these people bring me all these opportunities to invest in developments or in RV parks or in tiny homes. And it's like, no, nothing. I don't want to touch it. The second that I poison, I poison my entire company by, even if it's successful, it takes away from everything else that I'm doing. Yep. And that's for me, it's like, that's where my investment philosophy is. And even my relationships and my health. It's just like, once I simplify exactly what I want out of it and that I'm fine where I'm at, that to me, it's like, it's such a better place to create from, rather than it's never enough and there's this anxious energy that always wants more.
Yeah. There's this concept like the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every grass has fertilizer, to put it cleanly.
Yeah.
You know, every single patch of grass you see has fertilizer. And so if you've already curated yours, if you're focused on yours, keep going. The one thing you said really resonated with me, you know, when you outline the type of relationship you want, the type of asset that you're looking for, and you have the core basics, the 90%. If the deal meets this 90% criteria, let's move forward. Simple. This is a simple model. But then there's these other opportunities that come across that, oh, this is the 10% of fun. You know, like, oh, this has great upside. We have to do this, this, and this. It needs new signage, whatever the case may be. Is it worth trading the 90% for the 10%? And the answer is always no. But you have to be extremely, extremely disciplined to say no to those opportunities. Yeah. Do you teach those core values of discipline to your team also as the leader in the organization?
Well, I mean, I'm 44 and been in this 23 years, and now I can tell the audience this from my perspective.
Yeah.
I've made that mistake so many times over. So it's like, I understand if people, and there's always something in the gray where, and especially when you time the market and you win.
Yeah.
Then it's like, you know, hitting the casino behind us where you thought you created it.
Yeah.
You thought you were the magic sauce, and all you did was catch the wave and ride it.
You got lucky.
And you were in the right place at the right time. I mean, opportunity. Yeah. I mean, you were there, and it was opportunity, and you took advantage of it. Still doesn't mean that you were the catalyst to actually create the wealth. So yeah. I think it's not a black and white answer, but even now looking back, so you got to do all these things and screw up to know what the 90% is.
Yeah, that's true.
You do. And
we talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of have to get that ignorance debt paid down, whether through experience, you know, you can work with a mentor, but you have to be able to see what is the threats? How can this go bad?
Yeah.
And sometimes you unfortunately have to go through those experiences to know.
Yeah. I mean, the red flags in relationships,
Yep.
right? In partnerships,
Yep.
in deals, in business opportunities. Like, yeah. But you can't quite see them until you've gone through it again and again. And that's the benefit of age and experience.
Experience, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think if you look at the fundamentals of, like, tying it back to real estate, you got 5 key things in a model, right? And if you look at, okay, revenue, like income, like how do I look at if this thing doesn't produce income, I'm in a bad spot, right? So how do I position myself that this thing is going to bring in revenue no matter what, even if things get bad? Like for me, that's what, and you asked me the question, like, why did I choose storage in mobile home communities around apartments, industrial, office, or retail? And any of those asset classes are fine, but I wanted to be bulletproof where I know that top line, that thing's bringing in this amount of revenue. Like if it's been doing that the last 12 to 24 months, I can probably withstand that. I'm not going to blow the business up. And if the economy goes to shit, people can still pay their mobile home rent, and people can pay a basic storage rent, $100 a month. So like for me, it was like, okay, that gives me the resilience to be able to endure any major problem, because I know this business is capital intensive. It takes a lot of time, and it can be risky. So that was important. So when you ask that question, I think it's how do you like, would I not do all these other things? I think focusing on those areas of the model of like, okay, can I bring in the revenue? How the expenses bury me, and how am I going to actually operate this thing? Like like we talk about, real estate is a business, and I think people misconstrue that a spreadsheet is reality. And there's so many moving parts underneath each input in that model. And it's until, unless if you don't have a good team surrounding it, and that's why I had a mentor, and I learned from his mistakes, and I learned from his business and helped grow his business because I needed to learn the things I didn't know. And those are the things that where if I can focus on these core areas of where am I going to get burned on this thing, in terms of how much more money am I going to have to pump into it? How much manpower is it going to take? Is this realistic? Am I really going to be able to build out this space, or really be able to build out all these units that I'm going to be able to fill? And you got to be sober in that situation. Have I ever done it before? No. Do I have a trusted partner or contractor that can do it for me? No. Then, do I have a management team that I can count on that I've experienced before? No.
Yep.
So being honest around that, and then knowing, okay, I got a smoke and deal, and there's enough of a buffer here where, okay, that's what I had to calculate every time I went into a deal, because every single deal to get to where I'm at in the beginning it was all or nothing, the whole thing.
100%. In the beginning, you have to take those risks. Now, you're now 20 years in, you have an incredible team. I'd love to hear like how you acquired the team, how you recruited the talent, and where you guys are strong in terms of management, and especially a business model like mobile home parks. You can't just pop in a property manager and let it ride. You kind of have to bring that in-house. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. A lot of failure. So it was really bad partnerships in the beginning, or alignment with key teammates, because I was so focused on growing the business. I was so focused on hunting. I was obsessively looking for to get rich or whatever, that I completely took my eye off the ball of operating all the assets. And lucky enough, I owned the majority. I owned them all, because the way I grew my company is I helped build another fund by sourcing and finding all of these deals, and then in turn we get equity and fees to do that. So I helped source and acquire 100 deals over a 9-year period of time. Every single time I got a fee or I got some equity, then I swapped out of it. And then I was able to, at some point, have 5 assets or close to 10 assets that were all my own for the most part. And so I was able to have the luxury to make some mistakes, because I had no one to be accountable to except for myself.
Right.
So, which is really important, because you're capital raising. When you take on someone's capital, it's a whole nother level of responsibility. Deal. Yeah. I was willing to take a lot more personal risks than I would with other people's money.
Yep.
So when I did that, I put a team around me to operate the assets. And then I looked at the perceived equity, which was in this particular transaction, like pretty much across $10 million of equity, I was making 150 grand. So it was like 1.8% annually. Like, and even at the time with interest rates so low, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, and all the money's bleeding out back into the assets, into the team, into lack of collections, and all of the things that were going wrong. So that was a wake up call for me, and it was. But then it really helped me. The scorecard illuminated. It's not the assets; it's the actual team that I have surrounded around me, and these are the results. I just finally got the diagnosis and the analysis that the poor results are coming from the actual internal team and culture that I created, and my lack of oversight, my lack of actually managing and leading, and my disregard for it, because it wasn't important to me. All I wanted to do was acquire, which was fine. At some point, I had to have that mentality at some point, but then it ended up coming and biting me. So anyway, those people that I had with me, there was a lot of division and resentment because there was a misalignment of where we were going together. They had their own idea of either some people were just there to get a paycheck, some people were there to springboard and build their own careers, some people were resentful because I perceivably had a lot of wealth and they felt like they were entitled to some of it. Mm-hmm. And then all those things that build up, like in a family or a dysfunctional family or in a relationship, they hit a point where it was out of control. Like it was getting to like reckless behavior, in the sense of I lost a key manager at one of the properties that controlled a $17 million property. And then one of the managers told me, I'm going to California. If you don't give me $50,000 with this sale that you're going to achieve, then I'm not going to collect rent. I'm not coming in tomorrow. And,
wow.
And I'm like, and I don't speak Spanish. I don't even know how these things have been operating. I've just been out on the road trying to build more assets.
Right.
And and that was a moment where I was like, if I tolerate this is out of control. Then I just burned down everything I worked so hard for.
Yep.
And I just said, no, don't come back. I don't need you here. And that was in multiple situations in different ways. But anyway, it finally took that to slap me in the face to realize you gotta farm what you have.
Yes.
You gotta feed and nurture what you got instead of trying to go get more. And that then allowed me to understand, okay, like what attributes or qualities in people can I look for where that's not going to happen again? And I'm reasonably emotionally intelligent, but not as a leader. I didn't really know. I couldn't voice it. I was in my early 30s. So like for you to have the ability to be able to experience observing people and seeing who they really are and their character early on is such a critical skill, because you invest in people, and these people are your real equity. That's the real value. That's the real wealth.
Yeah.
These assets don't run unless you have good quality people helping manage and grow this whole thing. So going into that, I said, okay, 2020, which was only 5.5 years ago, I'm hiring all new people, like on New Year's Day. I got interviews coming in on New Year's Day. Who's going to come in? And I started to rebuild the team. And I didn't have any system. I didn't know what EOS was. I didn't know what management controls or scorecards or KPIs or any of that. I just realized I needed good people that had my back, that supported me and cared about what I was doing. And
right.
They had my best interest and their own. Like I could help springboard their careers and whatever they want to do. So picking the right team, what I did when the properties closed right at the end of 2019, this $10 million exit that I got, and I talked about it in the book, and it validated everything I did for 12 years or whatever, and I got this big win. And I because I lost everything in 2007, 2008, this time around, I knew this was my only shot. Like, I'm not doing it again. I can't piss this away. So this time around, I said, I'm investing in the team. Like, that is it. Because real freedom is in the people around me that are going to run this thing. Mm-hmm. And I want to build a real company. I'm not just a deal guy. And we know so many people that are just deal guys. Mm-hmm. You buy the next real estate deal, you make a couple $1 million, but you're back to square one. Mm-hmm. And so when I took this, I guess it was slow and steady. And I didn't have the expertise to be able to identify talented people because I was so singularly focused on finding good deals, working with mom and pops, so micro-focused on mobile home parks and started in storage that I couldn't go out and hire. I didn't have the business acumen to hire a dominant CFO. I didn't have any assets really. So I kind of like started all over with cash, and I was ready to reinvest. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what a real CIO, I didn't understand what a COO, I didn't really understand what any of these people did, like at a core level. I just knew these are the things that I needed done in the company, and I needed the people that fit the culture. So, some people say don't hire your friends, but one of my close friends that when things were burning in the company was ready to make a shift, heard me speak at a conference in 2018, and then just started showing up and helping me, not asking for money, learning the business, knows construction, and stepped up, and he was loyal. The guy was loyal like crazy, and he wasn't about a handout, and he was just like, he just wanted to help. And that to me was huge. And he's a smart guy and competent. And I'm like, I look back and I'm like, man, he don't have to do this. But the fact that I had someone there supporting me and he's going to learn and grow and he has some skills was like, I'm investing as much in you as you're going to invest in me. And then in turn there, finding the next key member where my accountant's son graduated from Michigan State. He's really good at what he does. Mm-hmm. Come over here to Vegas, come on board, take care of the tax, take care of some of our basic finances. But it's not like these guys were, in their early 30s and mid 20s. And it's just like, they're just trying to figure it out with me. But we know we got a good thing going. We know we can find deals. We're good at the core of the business. I spent 10 plus years figuring it all out. And then it's like finding the woman that I bought her mother's storage facility, and she's an engineer and she's really good systems and process oriented. She likes storage. She's committed to me. All these guys will take discounted salaries.
Yeah.
And they love the startup feel. They love the energy that I bring. They follow me and they know I'm in charge. I'm going to make the decisions, but they support my decisions. And one step at a time this way. I know it's a long answer to your question, but I just want you to know that like, you don't have to have the most talented people because you don't even know what to look for, nor do you have the infrastructure to support that. But if you have people that are loyal, that have conviction, that really, really care, that they have character, and don't get me wrong, we've had battles, like to the point where it's like, don't come back to the company unless you change your attitude. You're not invited to the Christmas party. And, that tough love to that person woke him up, and he could either choose to say, fuck this guy, I'm going to go do my own thing, or I'm going to step up and be accountable because I know I made a mistake. And that was a really key piece that I'm really glad I got to play that role in his life, because he woke up and he became a better man and a better employee and teammate because I did that.
Yeah. And
I really needed that person at the time. And this goes across all of these different people in my company where there's these tough conversations where you have to renegotiate their compensation. You have to tell them that they're no longer fit for this role and you're going to have to go step aside to someone that's more talented. Or you have a disagreement around what you thought an agreement was, but it's now the business has shifted and it's grown and there's a lot of money involved. You get to see all these different aspects of them come out. And it's not simple, and it's not always like happy. Mm-hmm. But I just believe like a family is like, if you can just keep working through that conflict, and there's been like a lot of emotions around it because you really, really do care about each other and you lean on each other, but you're passionate and you want to win, and everyone's doing it because they want to achieve their own individual goals. Like that to me elevated that team, so that we have something more intangible than just hiring someone that had experience at Extra Space or at Public Storage. And that's what I can lean on with these people. And it's not perfect. Everyone has personal lives. But to me, it's like I like the people that I got. And I think that they're going to put it all on the line. They really, really care.
They're committed. They're committed. And that's something that a resume won't tell you. You need time. You need time. You need wisdom.
Yeah.
You need sort of that perspective. But it sounds like once you get that committed team that has, some of the prerequisites, some of the skills are basic, right? The skills probably are the easy part to find, but the character and the commitment is where you excel.
For sure. And time again, and even my close colleagues that we were high performers in our area, we've hired a lot of really high quality resumes. And it's when you're in this mid-sized level of investing in commercial real estate, you got to get your hands dirty. You're going to grind out things that you got to collect on rent from somebody, and it's a $400 a month tenant, and you got to make sure it gets executed. And sometimes these talented people that went to prestigious universities or work for large companies,
they don't want to get dirty.
No, and they want a couple chain of a series of people that need to report to them, and that's fine. There's something there, but at the same time, you got to flip the switch, and we got to get resourceful, and we got to figure it out.
Absolutely.
So it's not a simple, because there's a lot of gaps.
That's where value is created, though.
It is.
That's where the money's made, in a little bit of the grittiness of doing what other people don't want to do.
Yeah. And we're not producing widgets. You're buying value add assets.
Exactly.
You're building onto these assets, and there's going to be so many variables you can't account for.
Yeah.
But I think starting out with a team, probably ask you, where do you think you need to go with, what are the qualities of someone that you want to hire, and where do you think you need to hire on your team?
Yeah, you mentioned a couple minutes ago this concept of this team around you that's smarter than you, right? And I think that's the tipping point where I'm at in my business. A lot of the people on my team now, they are very committed. They're very intelligent. They're smart. They're sharp. And I have taught them a lot about what we do, our business model. I think now, in order for me to move to the next level, I need to start bringing in people who can teach me things. Mm-hmm. You mentioned an advisor. You mentioned legal. Yeah. You mentioned a controller when it was just me and one-on-one.
Yes.
I think this is the area that I have to focus on over the next 12 months, because if I know the most about the business, if I know everything, then I'm the bottleneck, right? Things can't happen without me being there. And so the character I'm not concerned about. I've done a really, really good job of attracting incredible people who are committed, who are loyal, who have integrity, who can persevere. I'm grateful for that. Mm-hmm. Now it is, for me at this point, I think it is the resume. What skill sets, what education, what experience can you bring to the company that I just don't have? Mm-hmm. I think that'll move the needle for me at this point.
Yeah. It took me a long time to bring in that caliber of talent, where I was lucky enough to bring on someone that's built a public REIT. He was a CFO of a public REIT, and then he was a CFO of a really of an impressive company that I admire. And due to life circumstances, he had to move, and I was able to hire him. And to be able to lean on someone with that expertise, because he admires the entrepreneurial side and the visionary side of me, and the fact of being scrappy and building mm-hmm. something from nothing. And then he's able to bring in the corporate expertise of this. If you want to get here, this is how you're going to have to build it to get to that level. And I feed off that, because I can ask questions of okay, what if we try this? Is that going to fly? And I think for you on the debt space, there's so much potential there, because there's a lot of high caliber finance guys mm-hmm. that have challenges deploying the capital into they're not going to do the work to actually generate the business mm-hmm. or raise capital from people that want to invest in real estate but need education around it and need to understand how it fits in their portfolio. If you can bridge that gap, then that talent can really help you amplify what you're doing, but you can keep it in a way where you have control to protect the investor, to protect the culture and the team that you want, but yet learn the rules of the game at the highest level.
These two mindsets, these two like sandboxes. They play so well together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just recently have started working with someone who has 10, 15 years in HR corporate space.
Mm-hmm.
And she's coming in my company and giving me perspectives that quite honestly, like I would have just never thought of.
Mm.
It's incredible. And also I'm giving her perspectives that she would never think of.
Right.
And the collaboration there, it makes something really, really special.
I know.
It's exciting.
I know. And it's wild to think that some of these massive public companies started with like a couple people around a table, you know, just thinking about ideas and then feeding off each other and growing.
Yeah. Now, I have noticed, I will say, when you have so many people involved, you know, when you're growing, when you're scaling, so one of the benefits that you have when you're small is that you can move really fast.
Mm-hmm.
When you have checks and balances, you obviously can't move as fast. So it's definitely, it's a trade-off. It's the pros and cons. Your risk is diversified. You know, you have multiple perspectives, but some of the deals that I did early on in my career was because it was up to me. Yeah. You know, and that's how we won. So.
No, I love that perspective. And so as you grow, especially in the industry that we're in, you're underwriting risk. I'm looking for opportunity in underwriting risk, buying assets. Speed, it can be a big advantage.
Yeah.
So the processes, the team, the guardrails speak to helping protect the company based on the inexperience or the impulsiveness of the entrepreneur or the visionary like myself in the past. So it's great. It's actually here to serve the company because I have multiple sets of eyes from different perspectives in the company that's going to protect how we allocate investors' capital and how we grow. So that's really helpful. And I had to swing far in that direction with deal committees, full due diligence procedures, like way over the top, internal legal staff, everything there to make sure that we implement on that protection mechanism. Nice thing is on the other side of it, so I learned that I can grow a business really fast or I can find a lot of assets and make some money and do well for investors. Then I realized I can get out of control. I can really spread my team really thin and I can lose too, you know, and there's that side of it. So, and then I can learn that I can be disciplined and I can put the right people in place that I will get my ego out of the way to do what's best for the company and for the business plan and the investor. And then now I think on the after getting out of this whole process of this maturation of me as an individual and as a business person, now I can sidestep it and override it, where I still have the ability as the founder and the CEO to say, this is the shot. We're going to take this shot right here and we're going to do it really fast. But I have confidence in myself and the conviction because I've seen it from so many angles and I can have so many people telling me different things like, hey, maybe you should ease off or maybe, you know, this isn't the right time. But when I've built this expertise to get to this point, I still have the ability to do that. And now I feel like I have the maturity and confidence and conviction that I will do it. So that's where it's beautiful for you to maintain control and be able to build something and go through all these different experiences. When you see the opportunity and it's there because the windows are there, the windows show up and you know you worked so hard for so long to see that window. Mm-hmm. You're like, we have to go after this right now. No one in this company is going to stop me from it because this is how I got here. And everybody has to listen. And I know we could battle about it. And I'm not saying make an impulsive one. And I don't think you do this very often. But every few years or whatever it is, when that shows up, I'm like, we have to go all in on this. And those are catalyst moments that are going to change the entire scope of the company. But it's, I don't know. I hope that doesn't come off to the audience the wrong way. Like it's not tyrannical. It's just that it takes all that experience to see that opportunity. Yep. And I think Buffett talks about it a lot. Is like those key decisions that he made in his decision over that 70, 60-year life or 70-year life of investing. Those pivotal decisions that he made were like a massive amount of his wealth. So it takes. So that's where all that work that looks like you're not getting any results. Like that's where that pays off because you made that decision at the right time.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. There has to be a decision maker. Like there's a balance there.
There is.
There's a balance
there. There is. It's not a democracy and it shouldn't be, but it's accountability. Yes. And that's the beautiful thing because You know, I'm a huge New England Patriot fan. Like I love football and I love my guys. And, you know, their slogan is do your job. You know, and when Belichick was there and Brady and they were the dynasty, it was what that means is that the culture is I'm empowering you to focus on your job. You do your job the best way you can do it. And I'm not going to get in the way. And you tell me the best way to do that job. And then I'm going to do mine. And then we can both count on each other because we're both focused on what we're accountable for.
And that's it.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. So if my job is to go deploy capital and make the right decisions, I got to go do my job. If your job is to run the assets and drive revenue and lower expenses, I'm going to get out of the way and let you do your job. So it really goes. It's not so much like it's a tyrannical environment where I'm going to dictate everything to everyone all the time. This is your job, and this is where you fit, and this is how you earn the right in this part of the company, and you go do it better than me, right? And I gotta step up and do my job. So if I'm not performing and I'm barking orders and I'm not living in character or delivering on expectations, how am I going to step up and call someone out on it?
Yeah.
Right? Lead from the front.
Yeah.
That's all the best companies.
So as CEO of Patriot, part of your job is painting the vision, right? Sharing where you're going, being strategic. What is the current vision for Patriot? Where do you guys focus on? What's next?
Slow and steady. Slow and steady. You know, so what's next? It's, you know, we raise the same model, nothing unique, sticking with what we know, buying good quality mobile home parks, buying self-storage with some small bay industrial, but it's basically warehousing or storage. And we stick with the value add, consistent, just tight parameters. It has to be a certain size, a certain location with a certain amount of revenue. And I mean, yeah, I would like to scale more. We raise $25 million each year. And that's the goal, and that's what we've achieved for the most part. Next year, would I like to go to 50 or 100? Yeah, but it's not about the growth. It's really about executing on the plan. The better I can do on the plan, the better returns I can perform on, the more money's going to come in.
Yep.
So just do what I do really well, and then everything else will take care of itself. But I am thinking about this with the future and I've been reading a lot more about Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, where I'd rather buy a great property at a fair price than a shitty property at a great price. And maybe shitty's a bad word, but a fair property at a great price. And I've done that time and time again, where he talked about, you know, buying cigar butt companies and squeezing out the last bit of profit. And in theory, it always looks good. Yeah. You know, because you're getting at such a bargain basement price, but you're diving in dumpsters to find these things. And then, you know, you're squeezing out whatever profit's left over. And that was kind of essentially how I started my career. It was finding these assets no one else really wanted. They were really difficult, middle of nowhere land, and tough tenants, all of it, all the things that were wrong. Utilities are all screwed up. And I did well. I squeezed out profits just like those guys did. But now I'm at this part of my career where I would much rather align with my investors where we buy properties at a fair price, but it's a great property that I possibly would never sell. 10, 20, 30 years from now, I know that storage facility in the middle of Main Street and, you know, in a nice town with lots of good jobs and houses and apartments. Like, that thing's going to do what it's going to do for a long time. It's just going to crank cash out. You know, it might not crank out as much cash as me buying a dumpster fire, you know, but improving it and dumping it. But there's so many things that have to go right for that to work. Rather, instead, just finding good opportunities, pay a fair price, and let compounding do the rest. Yep. You know, and doing that on the mobile home park side as well. And it's boring to talk about to the audience all the little nuances that you have to know in order to do that. But you were asking me what makes a great park, and it's like sometimes you forget common sense when you go in there, when you're looking at the storage or you're looking at the park, and you just got to feel, you're like, oh, this is decent, or this is weird. Like, this is just not a good area, doesn't feel good, it looks dumpy, you know. But then they're selling you on this idea that there's a great price, and like, we're going to make a ton of money on this, and something doesn't feel right. But you just know when you go to this place and there's nice cars, nice landscaping, or it's got some trash, but it's got some nice, decent mobile homes. It feels like a safe place. Like you just kind of know, like this is not a bad place to live. And if I feed it a little bit and nurture it and I pay a fair price, but I can get some good profits and protect the downside for the investors, like just let inflation, let compounding do what it's going to do. Pay down our debt and let's just make a ton of money over time, but be patient.
Yes.
We don't have to make it tomorrow. We don't have to make it in 3 years, 5 years. Like we can do okay and make it over our lifetime, over decades.
Yes. Couple core values I think that are present throughout the entire conversation. Number one is obviously patience.
Yeah.
You have to, as an investor, whether you're, an LP or a GP, doing something and making sure that you're patient on your plan. It's not going to happen tomorrow.
No.
Real estate is an illiquid asset, right? It takes time.
Yeah.
The second thing is the discipline to actually follow the plan.
Yes.
There's multiple opportunities. There's always opportunities. We're in America, right?
Right.
It's almost overwhelmed of opportunities. But the discipline to follow the plan that you set out is the second thing that I see that you all do really well. And that's what it takes.
Yeah. And the discipline not to bail.
Yeah.
That's a key piece there, I think, with any investor or any business owner. Like right now, you sat in on a lot of my meetings. There's 104 people working for me, and production is not at an all-time high. Mm-hmm. We're at a very mid-level of production, low level. We're not growing rapidly. We're getting outbeat by a lot of other competitors. We're trying to figure out where is the edge to try to buy these properties where we can compete. And you sat in on our deal committee meeting and we were 60% of the ask price. Mm-hmm. And this happens week over week over week. And it's like, how do you, that's where you get yourself in trouble where, I want to be innovative. I want to be competitive, but being disciplined to stick with the numbers where I'm not stretching and overpaying. I'm protecting the downside because you never know if you're going to take a hit on revenue or there's an expense there. There's risk involved with these things. And everyone's painting this rosy picture and somehow investors are still overpaying for these assets. And it's when you got a big payroll, big one, it's hard. It's hard to just continue to go through the plan and keep fighting without any wins. That's the hardest time in any career. Even as an athlete, like you hit that plateau and you're just like practicing and you're not scoring. And you're like, when is this going to turn?
Right.
And then that's when so many people quit or so many people make excuses or so many people try some new strategy. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just being single-minded because I don't want to be bouncing around anymore with the way I'm thinking. But I just think that, just stick with the plan, be disciplined. I know it works. I know it. I've seen it. It has worked. But, this isn't the time to shift. People need affordable housing. People need storage at some level.
Yep.
People need a warehouse to work out of. So, just don't compromise and don't compromise.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
We went over a lot. Yeah.
We did.
Good?
Yeah, I'm excited to work together.
Well, me too. It was fun. Got to do it again.
Let's do it.
All right.